Well, I'd like to call this meeting of the Airport Committee to order. We have a roll call.
Bob Billingsley,
Present.
Bob Witter,
Present.
William Brainerd,
Present.
Sean Sinclair,
Absent.
Counselor Montoya, who said that he will be absent from today's meeting as well. Arnold Lopez, he is unavailable. John Aragona.
Present.
And we also have Mike Provine and Jane Lucero from Aviation.
Okay. I think we do have a quorum. I'd like to say thank you for the attendance, Scott's attendance and Jane's attendance. We're glad to see you back.
There they go.
It's you've been a blessing to the aviation community for years, and we're glad to have you back on board. Next item is approval of the agenda. Gentlemen, you guys have the agenda in front of you.
Mr. Chairman, I recommend approval as written. Second.
Motion made and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is approval of the minutes. I think those were emailed out.
They were. Yep.
Have you guys had a chance to review those? Would you like a chance to look them over right quick, or?
I think it looked all right to me.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as written.
Second.
The motion and second. Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries. The next item on the agenda is public comments. Do we have any public comments that anybody that'd like to speak to the committee today? Hearing none, I'll move to the next item on the agenda, which is new business. I guess I'd open the floor for anything you guys want to bring up. As we discussed, Sean Sinclair has resigned his position, and so I do think that we need to be looking for another member of this committee. And I certainly think Bob's comment that we could make a recommendation to the mayor would be appropriate. Obviously, the mayor will make that selection. I know you said you had a couple of people that you'd think about. I really didn't find out that Sean had resigned until yesterday. I haven't had a chance really to even think about it much.
Yeah.
I guess I would suggest that maybe I hate to wait till the next meeting. Maybe we speak to the mayor individually with our recommendations. We can talk amongst ourselves if you want to, but ultimately that is the mayor's decision.
Okay, so we don't need to bring up a recommendation at this point.
I don't feel, I'd like to have some time to think
I'm
about
going with
myself.
that. I assume we could discuss it and bring it up to the mayor.
I think we can't really, we need to talk individually, but I think we can do that now. Okay,
And we might, Mr. Chairman, I'd ask anybody that's out in the community that might be interested to get in contact with you. And then you can run it around, and maybe we could put on the agenda next meeting, a little more of a discussion, and then maybe we could have a recommendation and vote on that, and then send it to the mayor. If the mayor's looking for that. Any one of us could talk to the mayor and see if
I
he's
think
looking
that,
for
I
input.
think that's true, Bob. And quite honestly, any member of the public that was interested could obviously approach the mayor
Yeah.
themselves.
Yep,
Yeah,
good point. Yep. Okay.
Are you guys aware of any other new business that you want to bring up other than the items that are, the discussion items that are in the fall?
I know there was one other thing that Councilman Montoya had a question on, is that at tomorrow's council meeting, there's an item for a new lease out at the airport. And I don't know that that's gone through this committee at all.
a new lease,
Yeah,
a lease for what?
hangar
A
space.
hangar?
The lease is a lease that you guys have all voted on and approved. It's just a lease that's going for approval for an individual, not a new lease.
Okay, so it's not a new lease?
No, it's a
Okay.
new leasee.
The one
So-
down in the,
Yes, it's something that you guys have already voted on and approved. The lease agreement's the same.
Okay,
they just have to approve it.
Yeah, it's gotta go through council, that's just a new
okay,
chain
we're
of
good.
command or
Thank
whatever
you.
you wanna call it.
Yeah, I don't know.
Okay. Well, actually, that's good news, I think. That'll be a new hangar too, is that?
It's not a land lease agreement, it's just, it would be Ray Valdez's lease.
Oh, Ray, okay.
Ray Valdez. That's.
He's got the Stenson
The
in the bottom,
Stinson.
so he's current.
He's paying his rent and he needs to have the same lease agreement that you guys have.
Or that
Okay.
you have actually,
Yeah,
so.
so, yeah, that was since, we had talked about it
Yeah,
with him.
so we
Okay.
addressed it, we brought
Yeah,
it
we-
current.
And now
We did.
the last step would be getting him approved for the lease.
So it'd be the same as what I paid.
Yes.
Do we have any other new business?
No, sir.
Yeah, I don't know, did we, what became of that meeting that you attended and I watched online?
Well, I guess I can make a little bit of a discussion on it, Doc. At that, there was an entity, and I should be able to remember their name, but basically they made a presentation to assist the city, primarily in a design build role, which would include grant writing, and then they would essentially be responsible for design and then construction, and they would, of course, probably sub that out or some
Yeah.
portions of it. But it was, I guess what it seemed to me is I heard the presentation would be a different type of procurement from what customarily the city does design bid build, where they contract with someone like Scott to do the design, then they contract with a contractor to do the construction, and then the grant applications generally are the responsibility of the city, but with assistance generally from the design community. So that's historically the way it's worked, and this entity, was promoting or suggesting that they would be willing to assume all of those duties, and so that if the city, for example, had difficulty writing the grants or administering the contracts, then they would assume that role for the city.
Yeah.
And I mean, I really think that would be a council decision. I have to confess that my feeling is, you know, the old saying, if it ain't broke, don't try to fix it. But, and I think our system is working,
Well, there wasn't any specific project
No,
in mind,
no.
I don't think, from what I gathered. Were you at that meeting? Yeah. I didn't see a specific project.
It
All I
was-
saw was a company that was saying, okay, we can get grants for you if you want us to. Well, I don't know that we need them to.
well, yeah, I mean, I think it wasn't specific to the airport. They did mention the airport,
Mhm.
but they indicated willingness to work on water projects, street projects, other things.
Yeah.
But I think it was more, at least a presentation of the council as an alternate method of procurement.
Of procurement of funds,
Well,
grants.
of procurement of the work, not simply the funding, but also the design and the construction and the administration of the process.
Yeah.
So that was, and that's, I mean, certainly those options are out there. And
Yeah.
if you were building a new DIA or something like that, you might think that would be a good option. I mean, and certainly it could work with small projects too, but generally the companies that do this are looking at least in my experience, larger projects.
Yeah, that's kind of was my feel of what was going on as well. Just, I just watched it. I wasn't able to get in, but I did watch it. Yeah, I didn't see what immediate need was. My takeaway from that.
I did not see that either.
Yeah, yeah.
Any other new business, Johnny? Okay, the next item on the agenda is the discussion items. On May 13th, the New Mexico Pilots Association Board will be meeting at the Terminal Building here in Las Vegas at our facility. And I serve on that board, and I wanted to, one thing, say thank you to the city for agreeing to host this meeting. Thank you to John.
I think it's pretty cool.
And wanted to invite members of this committee and members of the public that's interested in the aviation industry in New Mexico. The Pilots Association, Mexico Pilots Association is an organization of pilots that try to promote aviation in New Mexico and support those things that will be beneficial to the aviation community. So that'll be at 9 o'clock on May 13th, and I promised to bring donuts and coffee and maybe a few goodies. So we should have some treats. And with that, I'll take any questions or comments.
So I assume it is open to the public.
Yes.
I've put it on
Yeah.
I've put it on my calendar, so I hope to be there. And chocolate donuts are my favorite.
Okay.
Sir.
I'll keep that in mind, Bob.
Yep, there you go.
We can fix you up.
My chair just went down. I don't know.
Did you break it,
I
Doc?
I shrunk, I guess. Yeah, that sounds like fun. I'm gonna be there.
Okay.
I think Nance and I both will be there.
We like that. We appreciate you coming.
Yeah. Be fun.
Okay. Any other discussion on that item? Okay, going ahead, status of the lighting and signage project. John, did you wanna address that, or?
The project is,
Moving along slowly, mostly due to supply issues. We're still having them unfortunately, and so they've accomplished what they can with what has come in. And for right now, the construction part of it has been pretty much shut down until they get enough to warrant guys going back up there and doing something.
I'd say maybe 25%. I mean, obviously that's a guesstimate, but
Yeah.
you know,
Any ideas on when, they'll
they
get,
have no ideas. They keep moving the lead time back on the lighting, and that's beyond their control. So.
yeah. Oh boy, I deal with supply issues all the
Yeah,
time.
you would think that it would be getting better, but it's not.
It's not,
really
it
is not.
hasn't gotten better.
So they're struggling with that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know I do.
Yeah.
In the interim, are we haven't taken anything out of service yet, John, or have they taken anything out of service?
There will be nothing pulled out of service probably until they start the runway lights. Then we'll pull the lights out of that runway out of service. But the signs they removed, replaced that day, and they were functional with that by that afternoon. The windsocks were up and functional by that afternoon. Those are the only things that we've done so far. And like I said, when they do the other signs, if they do that separate from the runway lighting, we'll do the same. We'll remove, replace, make sure they're operational by evening.
Was the lights in the windsocks do?
Yes.
I noticed that the other night. I thought, well, I didn't remember seeing
Yeah.
that. Yeah, it was kind of cool.
It's neat.
So,
Yeah,
Thank
it was
you.
good.
that's good. Good to hear that.
I noticed it.
So. And all four ends have them now too.
Is
So
that right?
Yeah.
Cool.
Well, we're making some progress then. Thank you, Scott.
Oh, and believe me, I know all about supply chains. I have a hard time getting needed drugs.
yeah.
There's nothing you can do about it. It just, it's the way it is.
We're just at the mercy of the supplier, and
Well,
I'm sure they're at the mercy of the producer. So yeah.
Okay. Next item on the agenda is a kind of discussion on the receipt printer. I really put that on, John, before I'd had a chance to talk to you, but I understand really, the printer's working okay now, it's just you were out of paper that,
That was all that was the matter with it. I mean, obviously, if it runs out of paper on the weekend and nobody tells me, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
well, there were 2 times there that I got the receipt, so we've got that resolved then. Okay, next item, status on the lease agreement payment method. And that's, I guess what I put on that list was, at least, I know I've got an annual lease and a number of other people have. Do they send us a bill, or how are they doing that, John?
So,
I discussed this with Arnold, and he was going to push that up the chain a little bit. I think that what we decided was it would be beneficial for all involved to have the city actually issue a bill, whether it be annually or monthly, and then you would pay it like you would any other bill. And so we're looking into it. That's all I can tell you. Arnold's not here. I don't know what results he got from them, but we are moving forward with trying to figure that out. So
Well, it would be, my lease agreements every year, and I guess I can forget like other people, and I just thought if we could just make it a policy, send out a bill, and you know, that way people, it doesn't just kind of fall through the cracks, John. So-
well, it works. We're working on it, and it does make sense, even as far as we're concerned, because then for all intents and purposes, everybody has receipts, and you know what I'm saying. So
People like Mr. Brainerd
Yeah.
and actually everybody else just pay yearly for that reason, so they don't forget.
Yeah, I forget.
And, that works well, you know, so. But for people that wanna pay on a monthly basis, I understand that as well, you know, so we are looking into that. I don't know what they'll say. I'm sure that's gotta come from finance at the very minimum, so.
So you'll talk to Arnold and see if we can't get some resolution.
Yeah,
Okay. Next item on the agenda is status on water removal.
so on this particular one, we still have water in the building, in the bottom hangar. We are working,
The bottled
Bottled
water,
water.
Water.
And sanitizer.
I said, what water? Yeah.
So we are currently, in conjunction with Arnold and, I believe the safety inspector or safety guy, trying to put on a distribution for city employees on Friday.
This Friday?
This Friday for the city employees to get rid of, at least some of it, start moving it out, you know.
I hadn't even been in to see how much is in there. I guess
There's-
it's quite a bit. I don't know.
That's the back corner, you know,
Oh, is it?
there's, I don't know.
I'm not gonna speculate, but there's water in there.
Yeah.
We're gonna start moving it out with employee distributions at the very least right now, so.
Well, it's occupying space that we can't lease. That's ultimately, we've got to,
We understand that, Rod. You've made that clear. We're working on it.
but you promised the last three meetings,
Never
John.
promised. We said
well.
we were working on it and we're still working on it. So,
Arnold told me. I'll give
I
that
can't
for
speak
you.
to Arnold's,
Well,
what he told
he
me.
said it in this meeting.
Yeah.
He did. He said, we'll get it out. That was his commitment. And he hadn't honored it. That's, and it just needs to be gone so we can recover, we can have the revenues to support this facility. That's what we want. Anyway. Status on moving the fire truck from the bottom hangar. I was under the impression that they were gonna move that fire truck out. Cause I went down there one day and 3 city employees told me they were supposed to move it, and then I guess it didn't get moved. What,
I don't have the status on that. That would be something that Arnold would have to answer for you and he's not here. As far as I know, they were looking at trying to get it auctioned. But I don't know if, I'm assuming the auction is done and I don't know if anybody bid on it or not, so I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up because I know the city had put together a huge auction of surplus stuff. And I don't remember if that fire truck was on the auction list.
I can't tell you. There may be
Department
discussion.
heads had to submit
Yes.
it to get it on the auction list. And then they were gonna do an online auction.
Yeah. Well,
But you don't know
unfortunately, I
it.
couldn't put it on the auction
Yeah.
because it doesn't belong to the airport, so I wouldn't know if it was on
Okay.
or not. Like Rod said, I did have a few people go up there and look at it, so I'm assuming that it was on auction. So it may be just pending removal at this point, I don't know.
How hard is it to get it out of there?
I
Is-
can tell you that.
Is there a door you can get it through?
There's a,
Dummy wall that we would have to take
Oh, the
down.
dummy wall, that's right, I forgot about that,
Yeah.
okay. All
Yeah, cause it looks like it was kind of built in there.
Yeah.
You know, built around it,
Yeah, that's,
but it's
I
just
mean,
that.
it's
just-
useless space. It's no, we can't use that space for anything anyways. You know, other than storage, and it's not secure, so it really doesn't serve a lot of purpose.
Yeah, and it's dirty storage,
Yeah.
and yucky in there.
Yeah,
you know, it's really not, it's not really useful, so. But they are working on it. I don't know what the status is, but I'll try to get a better answer for you guys next meeting.
okay, thank you, John. Next item status on the water catchment as discussed in the previous meeting, and you're the one that brought that up, is that right?
Yeah, we had said something about there being a water issue up there. And we had said that if you had any more information on possible water catchment system that you could put up there. I don't know if you've looked into that.
So me and Bill were supposed to meet, and I think Bill's been really busy lately on that, so we haven't actually met on that. But the short of that answer is I'm not real sure. The catching rainwater is not going to solve in any way our water shortage for the airport. It's not drinkable. It's not potable. We don't have lawn or trees that we can water with it. I'm not sure that spending that kind of money on water catchment is really financially feasible for
The
So
airport, honestly,
it can't be used for,
I mean,
Well,
toilets and.
Yeah, it could be for that
It
if
could
the
be for
buildings,
toilets, but the amount of money we would have to spend to isolate the plumbing
Yeah,
in the
okay.
buildings,
May
I
not.
don't know that it's cost efficient.
yeah, okay. And that's probably true because you'd have to replumb the building to
Yes.
separate out the,
potable from non-potable.
right,
Yeah.
right. Okay,
So,
I think we can probably
Let that lie?
let that one go, yeah.
Okay. Next item on the agenda. Status of the airport master plan, and I guess that's you, Scott?
I'm gonna let these,
Morning, committee members. Mike Provine, Mold Department. Yeah, I'll kind of condense a little bit. So we're waiting for FAA to give us a grant, okay? So to get a grant, you have to write a grant application. So we're ready to do that, and FAA said, well, no, we have a scoping meeting first, so we had a scoping meeting, and now you have to submit a scoping document, so we submitted a scoping document last month. I got an email yesterday afternoon saying, our only comment on the scoping document is you need to include an analysis of runway safety areas, right, that's in our project. So we're ready to write a grant application. So we'll send that in to the city. I think that has to go to council. We'll get that application already, send it to John and Danny for approval. And then they send it to FAA. FAA will turn that grant. They're getting motivated now because it's grant season. And so I would guess after it gets sent in, it'll be a couple weeks before the FAA sends the grant offer back, and then we're ready to go. We've been working a little bit. We've got our mapping in-house now, so we're going to start working on the drawings. We've met with John a little bit, talk about airfield stuff. I know the city has some ideas about non-aeronautical development. I know there was discussion about fire training school or academy. I don't know where that went in the legislature. I know there was a request in for funding on that. I don't know.
It got disapproved,
Okay,
or it was not approved.
gotcha.
And in place of it, a fire academy of sorts coming here, there was a grant given to Bernalillo County for things to happen down at the Albuquerque airport of a similar nature, some sort of fire training. So I think that's probably totally off the table at this point.
But okay, thank you for that. But I know a big part of the master plan is to look at maybe off non-aeronautical.
Right,
use.
right.
Some of the property that's maybe not, down the slope, if you will, downhill. But we're also looking at accommodating a little more efficiently if we do have a fire and you guys get moved in as a fire base, like was last year. How to accommodate that a little better. So working with John on that, working at extending the taxi lanes out for additional hangar space, hangar lease space, stuff like that. So we're starting to formulate that.
Now, my understanding is, and am I correct? The federal government will not pay to build a hangar if that hangar is going to create income for the city. Is that right?
Generally true, yeah. FAA won't participate necessarily in revenue producing.
They can, but.
They can, but it's a real low priority.
Yeah,
So I won't say no, but.
but
real
it's
low priority.
almost no.
Well, you know, and you never know, but probably not. But there are other opportunities, economic development, maybe state aviation, you know, they got lots of money. No, they don't. But there are other opportunities. But yeah, so if the city wants to be a hangar owner and lease the hangar space out, that's an opportunity. And we do that, T hangars, stuff like that. So those are the type of discussions we'll need to have moving forward. One of the big issues we're gonna face with FAA is, of course, they're interested in the airfield, FAA is, okay? They don't necessarily concern themselves with non-aeronautical use, although it is a big player right now because they have in the last appropriation from Congress, and I know I'm getting wordy here, we have to show how the property was acquired. Okay, so we're working with John a little bit on that, trying to find the deed, how you guys got the airport from the US government back in the day, if that's the case, and I think it was.
Yes.
I'm not quite that old, but I think that's the case. So we need to show that on our property map because that has implications on how FAA, what jurisdiction they may have in development on non-aeronautical property. Okay, so if the property is not conducive for aeronautical use, hangars, airfield, stuff like that, and you want to put up a movie studio or a fire training academy, something like that, what role does FAA have in the environmental review of that? So that's a new piece, if you will, with FAA in the last couple of years. So that we're starting that work as well. So, okay.
Mike, it may have been before your time, but originally this airport had a east-west runway. That runway extended into property that is now used by the city
Right.
solid waste department. And so part of the property that the city was originally, that was conveyed to the city from the government has been converted to use by the solid, or not solid waste, but the liquid waste.
Right. Sludge disposal.
Right, I would be interested to know how that conveyance, or at least that transfer took place. Have you researched that?
No, but we're aware of it. So that's one of the mysteries, if you will. And what FAA will require as far as documentation on that, that'll be a discussion with FAA because it has been used for the sludge disposal since the early 90s, I believe. So it's been that use for many years. FAA, from our discussions with FAA, is not supporting additional runways at Las Vegas, so they may turn their cheek, don't know, but that is going to be an issue or an item for discussion, not an issue necessarily, but yeah, that's exactly right. So that type of property use. FAA's gotten, Congress puts requirements on FAA when they reauthorize the airport improvement program, and that's one of the new ones, if you will. Yeah. So, you're not alone. This airport's not alone. Yeah.
I'd like for you to take a few minutes, Mike, and particularly for the benefit of the other two members. You guys do a lot of work, consultants generally, and your firm specifically for Las Vegas, do a lot of work on grant applications and grant writing. And I think that there is maybe, if you could just maybe go over all of those chores that y'all have assumed for the city as part of your selection as an airport engineer. So
Sure.
if you could spend 5 minutes, I'd appreciate it.
Oh, yeah. So, the short answer is, John calls me up and he needs something, I try to do it, okay? Or John, or Arnold, or Danny, whatever. So that's our role, but specifically, your funding source at the airport, two funding sources. One is the federal government's FAA, Airport Improvement Program, and then with state aviation, they're gracious enough to split the match, the FAA match, which is usually FAA funds 90%, and then the state kicks in 5%, and the city kicks in the other 5%. It's pretty good money.
Yeah.
Really. So we work with the city, but we'll prepare those grant applications. There's a lot of other paperwork that we do. That we used to call them pre-apps. So when you formulate a project, you send in a document called an overall development objective, and it kind of tells the story of why you want this project and what's the cost and stuff like that. We also work with the city on what we call the Disadvantaged Business Enterprise, DBE. It's a participation encouragement program that FAA, the federal government, requires with receipt of a certain amount of federal money. We work with the city on that. We prepare the program, we prepare the project goals, and present those, submit those. We also, with the grant paperwork, it's not just a sheet of paper, it's a document. With that are certifications the city has to sign that says, we will follow all your rules, whatever they are, we'll follow all your rules. The city manager signs that. And that's the strings attached to the FAA money. With the state, we work closely with them, and sometimes they're able to fund things that FAA won't fund. It's not eligible, a hangar. Although it's eligible technically, FAA's priority is airfield pavement, so they're not going to get to your hangar probably. But sometimes state aviation may have some money, and we'll approach them. So there's also an application process with state aviation, and we work with them on that with the city. So then we develop a project, we do the design. We work with the city on procuring the construction. You guys mentioned design, bid, build. We'll work with the city on the advertisement for bids. We actually review the bids. We actually work with, do the construction administration during the construction. So contractor says, okay, I'm done, pay me. Well, we go verify. Yeah, are you done? Are you done it? Have you built everything to spec? Rod knows all about that. So that's our role there. And then there's closeout documents that we are required to do. The city is, but we do it, so record drawings. The grant closeout, we work with Danny, and Rebecca does a lot of the work on reimbursement requests. So we prepare that paperwork too. So it's kind of I'm not just a pretty engineer. No, there's a lot of little things attached to getting this money and doing a project. Say you need a water line to the airport because you've got a water issue. So we prepare cost estimates and kind of conceptual, this is how it could work and stuff like that. And we'll work with the city on that, prepare that information too. So kind of wide ranging. We have architects. We worked with John and got the building extended so he could put the new snow plow in it. So we worked with him on expanding that snow removal equipment building, stuff like that as well. So, yeah. And we do work for the city, Public Works. We work with utilities. Our company does a little bit of everything a municipality would need. That's our claim to fame.
More than just the hangar
Yeah, absolutely.
or the airport.
Other things that we have to be aware of is other FAA requirements, federal requirements, not FAA, stormwater pollution prevention plan. So we help prepare that program and then work with John on how his inspections are done and how it gets reported. Things like that too. There's all kinds of things, strings. So anyway, is that what you're looking for?
Yes, sir. Thank you. I appreciate your time. I've been in the industry a long time, but these guys need to know the work you're doing.
Sounds like a
it's,
bunch. Big job.
You're not bored with that knowledge, but
Yeah.
anyway, thank you. Appreciate it. And I guess while we're on that topic, Jane's here, and Jane, if you'd like to maybe say a little bit about what role the State Aviation Division plays,
Do I have to stand?
you don't have to, but
Here, I'll do my better side. So I'm Jane Lucero with the State Aviation Division. I've worked with John forever and ever and ever. We started our careers out together. But what we do at the state is we keep these guys straight. So all the strings attached that Mike was talking about, we work with the FAA on making sure that Las Vegas is in compliance with their grant assurances, that they have the money in place to get all the projects done. We work with John and Danny and Mike on the CIPs that we do every year. And my main function is to get money from the federal government to come into the state of New Mexico and get projects complete at the airport. That's kind of my main function,
All right.
in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we work with them on project completion, from inception to completion. We have our own state grants, we have the FAA grants. We work with them on reimbursement requests, kind of lead them and, hey, you should think about doing this, you should think about doing this. Just to be here to support the city and make the airport the best it can be in the state. It's kind of what we do.
So, where do you sit in an org chart somewhere?
So
You're at the aviation division.
I'm at the aviation division. So the aviation division is a subset of the New Mexico Department of Transportation.
Ah, okay,
So our director of report, we're in the modal program.
yeah,
So you have our cabinet secretary, who is Ricky Cerna.
Yeah.
And then he,
oh, yeah,
Yes.
okay,
and then he, Franklin Garcia is our boss. He's the modal director. And so Franklin works for Ricky. And
Got it.
then our director, Pete Real, works for Franklin.
Right.
So,
Okay.
so we're under DOT.
I have one other question for Mike.
Okay.
And we've kind of talked about this too. One of my other interests is economic development. And
Yes, sir.
I think the last time you were here, we might have chatted a few minutes about that and what is possible out at the airport. Every once in a while, I get a phone call or I have a friend who gives me a phone call that there's been some inquiry about the airport out here. Let me run two ideas by you and help me out. My one idea was that somebody might be interested in a flight school out at the airport. Another idea was that there is a small, and that one, there was one contact and I ended up chatting with him for just a few minutes. The second one was actually some form of a very small aviation company, and I can't remember their name now, to actually manufacture airplanes. How important is the altitude of our airport to scuttle both of those ideas?
You mean the elevation and?
Yeah, elevation, the altitude. Is it a good idea to have a flight school at the elevation that we have at our airport here? I don't know.
I don't either, I'm not a pilot, so, but, you know, there's a lot of benefit to having that high altitude training. I think,
Yeah.
Rod, you guys are pilots, I think. So
That's
don't
what I
know if-
thought too,
I don't know if
but
it's a detriment. Now, Raton, I mean, they had that school came in from Pueblo, I think, for a while. They got sold, but that's same kind of elevation now.
and what about manufacturing aircraft? I know that the actual manufacturing isn't a problem with the altitude, but maybe the flight testing and the airworthiness testing and everything
I
of
don't
an
think it
aircraft.
would depend on the aircraft. and
Yeah,
the
sure, and-
capability of the aircraft.
You know,
Yeah.
many years ago, we worked with the city of Albuquerque when Eclipse Aviation was coming to town.
Yeah.
And, all these companies, you know, to get their airworthiness certificate for a new aircraft or any aircraft, they have to go through high altitude.
Yeah.
Even Boeing, I remember the Sunport, because of their elevation, hosted Boeing when the 787, the Dreamliner, was coming out. So yeah, I mean, I don't know that your altitude is a detriment. I don't know that. I don't know if it's been given as a reason or not, but I would be curious about that moving forward.
Well, in both inquiries, by the way, had other little issues that they were interested in, like if they were to come to our area, and these were just general inquiries, so nothing specific. Is there low-cost housing available for the people that they might want to hire and bring here? I think the answer to that is sort of yes, maybe.
Yeah.
But there are those other issues that they're gonna be looking at, and if ever where there was a serious inquiry, I clearly would let you know, Rod, and we could go from there, okay?
I think,
But thank you for that. I was thinking in the more negative category that the altitude would be a detriment, but I can see your point.
Yeah, I don't know that, but yeah,
Yeah,
I think,
I don't think it would be.
my experience with these companies and working with other communities, so we'll work with the city, the prospectors show up, need engineering cost estimates, layouts, things like that, we're certainly on hand to do all that. I can't speak to incentives and things like that companies may be looking for,
Right,
and that seems to be a big
and they will
part
be
of
looking
their,
for it, yeah.
program. You know, what can I get? What incentives are available for me to locate here? I can't speak to that, but yeah.
Okay.
thank you.
Yes, sir.
Mhm.
Last item on the agenda is discussion on any upcoming projects, and I guess one thing that I wanted to ask John is, at the last meeting, Arnold indicated that, that the city manager was negotiating the lease for that tower there at the airport. Do you know what the status of that negotiation is, and what, if any, resolution? I mean, how much revenue, or is that still an ongoing issue? Do you know what the status is, John?
I do not.
I have no idea, kind of like what Arnold said in the last meeting, it was handed off to Leo, and Leo has not reported anything back to either myself or Arnold as far as I'm aware of. So I don't know where that's at.
That could be, I believe, a source of significant revenues, and I know that this committee would be interested to find out at least what the status is, John, so maybe you could
Okay.
ask for a report.
Brought him a little, yeah.
We'll put that on the next agenda.
Yeah, good idea.
That's really where that needs to be.
So it was, you had to look at all the different apparatuses on the towers.
Well,
Who's got 'em?
Yeah, who's got them, and
Are they
how much
paying?
money are they paying? And at least at the last meeting, the lease had expired, and a new one hadn't been negotiated, and it expired several years ago.
Yeah.
So, and I guess we're working with the New Mexico
Communications.
IT
Right,
bunch.
that's what we were told last meeting, was that it's the New Mexico Department of IT or whatever. They manage whoever gets to hook up and put up an antenna on that tower. And there was also supposed to be in the previous lease, a requirement that if they wanted, the IT department wanted to put a new antenna system up there, they had to get city approval to do that, is what my understanding was.
That was my understanding as well.
And none of that's happened. We, over time, not rapidly, but over time, new antennas appear, and we haven't seen any requests to approve putting that up there. And that request process, I would expect, would include any discussions about any additional compensation to the city for new stuff going up on the IT tower.
A question, sorry. So does the state own the tower?
No, well, the state owns the tower. The city, it's located on airport property.
Yeah.
The state owns it, okay.
So we can still collect from that, even though the
Yes,
state
yes.
owns the tower?
Yeah, we, a ground lease. It's a ground lease that we
Okay,
would, and, you know, those are funds that come to the airport to
yeah,
pay the bills.
they're supposed to.
That's right. Okay, any other, upcoming projects that you're aware of, John? That
The
we
only
have
thing we
not,
got is finishing up the pavement seal and trying to finish up the runway lights. That's really all we got right now. We're just trying to concentrate on those two.
do we have a contractor for the pavement sealing?
No,
We're meeting with John today, but we'll be going to advertise here shortly for it's FAA grant season. So you'll see that advertisement hit the streets here.
So pavement seal on the ramp or on the,
yes.
Ramp, the taxi lanes there, and then taxiway Bravo. What we're looking
And it would just be a seal
at.
and,
Crack seal, surface seal, and then remarking.
that's the only other projects that you're aware of, John?
Right now, yes.
The facilities themselves, don't have any issues with the buildings or any other facilities that you feel like need to be addressed?
Most of the facilities are fairly new. Building, the main FBO building's in good shape, the SRE building's in good shape. We just put a new door on the old SRE building. And cleaned that up, that's in good shape. The only one that always needs attention is the lower hangar. And it's in such bad disrepair, I'm not real sure what the future of that hangar is gonna be.
so it's in,
Well, is it the entire, I mean,
structurally.
I thought
isn't
the
it?
hangar itself was,
Well, it's attached to everything else, so I mean, as a building goes, it's gotta be as one. I mean, where the aircraft are stored is not in bad shape. It's not in great shape, but it's not bad shape. But everything around it is falling apart. The roof on the entire back is non-existent anymore,
Really?
and falling down. So it's not even safe back there, which borders the area where the fire truck is, and that's in pretty bad disrepair as well. So, it's an issue.
well, is that not something that would be appropriately addressed in a master planning document?
I believe it could be, yeah, that's part of what we're gonna be talking about.
So that's in the works.
Yeah,
It's in the talks, yes.
it'll be discussed in the master plan, so what we had discussed, John and I earlier about cost estimates for alternatives, if you will, okay, so how do you bring that entire building back up? Not to code, but to good repair. There's also another alternative that we look at is
Removal.
removal.
Or removal of the parts that are falling down if
Yeah,
we
so,
can
you know,
maintain
those
the
different things, so the city can look
the
at that. and say,
ceiling
well,
of
cost
over
is
the
one,
hangar
cost
there
Make decisions.
is
about
better than the one that I'm in, isn't it?
To some extent.
Yes, it is.
It's the tar paper which is deteriorating. I mean, it's gonna need a new roof at some point, but it does leak,
Isn't it
The door's in
pretty
about the
sound?
same condition.
Yeah.
The windows on the side are, it's not any more sealed than yours is. So,
Yeah, I haven't
Well,
been in there in a while.
I guess I would encourage you to include that bottom hanger as well as that top hanger, which obviously needs some work as well. I mean, the one that Doc's
Yeah.
in. It's not in great shape.
Well, it's a cover. Yeah.
Yes,
If
sir.
I may, so part of the master plan, one of the first steps is to do an inventory of the facility.
Yeah.
What we're talking about, and then we can come up with a capital improvement program, so we identify the hangar, Okay, what's the problem? What's the cost to fix it? Different levels. And then the city can go forward with that if they, search for money, they got money stocked up somewhere, I don't know, make those decisions at that point, but, so first step is to go in and kind of assess, to a level that we can put forward some concepts.
So would it be worth a meeting, can I make any input, like in the hangar that I'm in, meet with anybody at any point, or what do we do?
Well, let's get the process started, and then, I don't think anything's going to be discussed between here and the next meeting.
No, I doubt it.
And,
But I'm happy to meet and put my 2 cents in if you want it. May not be worth more than that, but.
Yeah.
No, it's worth more than that.
Unfortunately, this, we were supposed to start this thing last fall. For several reasons, it's not happened, so, let's get it moving, let's get the FAA online, we can't spend a lot of money without FAA.
No,
That's the problem, so,
Once we get the grants in place.
it'll start moving, this, absolutely, input.
and so, and that's in progress.
Boy,
Yeah,
talk about supplier. I'll be quiet.
yeah. Well, I can only imagine what it's like dealing with the FAA.
Still working from the office Monday a week with the regions. I'll leave it.
Are there any other issues that, anyone would like to bring up, gentlemen? Next item on the agenda is adjournment.
Mr.
So-
Chairman, I make a motion, we adjourn.
We've got a motion.
Yeah, second,
Got a second.
yeah.
Discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned.
All right.
Thank you for your attendance.